From our studios in Olympia, Washington, TCTV presents South Sound Seniors, news and views featuring the people, places, and events that impact our growing senior community here in the South Sound region. Our program is presented as a community service to inform and involve you and yours in the lives of older adults. Your host for South Sound Seniors is the Executive Director of Senior Services for South Sound, Eileen Mackenzie Sullivan.
Welcome to South Sound Seniors, a program for and about older adults in our community. And I am really thrilled to be with you this month. I'm Eileen Mackenzie Sullivan, and I'm the Director of Senior Services for South Sound. And this month with our program, we're going to do something a little bit different. But before I tell you about that, I want to say a big, huge thank you to TCTV, because it really is that wonderful agency in our community that makes this program possible. But today, our format's going to be just a little bit different. There's a good organization in our community called Senior Action Network, and a number of those folks have been on this show before. But this month, we're going to actually do a little bit more intense visit with two members of Senior Action Network. We're going to try it on for size and see if it works, because those folks have a lot of wonderful things they do in our community, and we want you to know about it. So please stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment to meet two wonderful people from the Senior Action Network.
It's not just a name, you know. It's a whole catalog of senior lifelines. And talk about action, we got it. A full menu, if you will, of vital programs and services designed to meet the needs of our growing senior community. Adult daycare, resource links, social networks, and we'll even get you there in style. So come on down and celebrate live.
Well, I am very excited to welcome Lauren Pittman from Jorgen Bauer, Pittman and Bauer.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
That's a mouthful. Welcome, Lauren. And I also like to thank Bruce Bamford, who has been on the show before, from Bamford Financial and Long-Term Care Services. Welcome.
Welcome,
Bruce.
and thank you very much for having us on our show.
Oh, you are very welcome. So you're members of Senior Action Network. In fact, Bruce was one of the founding members of the Senior Action Network, and I know one of the goals of SAN is to get the word out about the amazing services for older adults in our community.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, very much.
All right. Well, as two folks that do very important work with seniors, I'm going to start off with you, Lauren.
Okay.
If I may.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're an attorney. And what do you do as an estate planning, probate, and elder care attorney?
Well, what I really do is make sure that I am protecting senior autonomy by allowing them to make choices about what they want to do with their long-term care and who they want managing their decisions in the future. So by giving people the opportunity to put in writing where they want their money to go, who they want to appoint as decision makers, we feel like we really put the autonomy back in an individual to make decisions about their own finances and their own family status while they have the ability to do that. So that's the one side as an estate planning attorney. On the flip side, as a probate attorney, we're also dealing with the administration of people's estates, making sure that the assets are being transferred according to the individual's desires in their wills or trusts or whatever planning they have in place, helping the family to identify and accumulate the assets. And then as an elder law attorney, we work to make sure that clients are getting their planning in order for paying for long-term care in the future and thinking a little bit more about how they're going to age gracefully and what they're going to do as they get older in terms of thinking about end-of-life decisions.
So really it encompasses a lot of things.
It certainly encompasses a lot of the family and financial matters that people are facing in their end-of-life stages.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, we'll get back to you in a second. So Bruce,
Yep.
tell me a little bit more, what is an insurance broker?
Insurance broker, it was interesting. I worked for MetLife for many years, and in the insurance industry you can go different avenues. And after I left MetLife, I found out that you can actually legally charge by the hour if you take a broker's exam. And the nice part is that in me shopping insurance for people, I can charge by the hour versus commissions. And I can shop any company out there. So I hate to use but it is a broker's license, and it's very unique. So consumers come in and they were very comfortable that I don't care who the insurance company is, I care who they are.
so you can find the best product for the individual. You don't have to just do your product. But
Exactly. And my specialty is long-term care insurance, and it's extremely confusing. So I have really good software and stuff that dissects the products, and so you'd custom fit policies to people versus, this is the best policy for you. That's not true.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about long-term care planning and what you do with somebody.
There's a couple sides to it. As far as the insurance side, when people come in and if they're interested in insurance, then I educate them as much as I possibly can before they buy insurance. Do they really need it? Does it fit? What are they trying to do? So I'll shop contracts once they decide they want insurance. The other side that has fallen into place quite a bit in the last few years is helping people with Medicaid spend down. Unfortunately, it's one of the things that people who do not have a lot of assets get into, and how do they pay for their care when you don't have money? The wealthy can buy the insurance, but the people who are poor don't have the resources to buy insurance. So now what do they do to try to, the nursing homes are $7,000, $8,000 a month, up to $11,000 a month.
Wow.
And how do you pay for that, out of your own individual money?
Right.
So it's a very fascinating part of planning with those people too.
Yeah, so it's wonderful that you look at everyone where they are and what best would serve their needs.
And the other part is the types of facilities that people can go to, from the adult family homes to the nursing homes, and knowing all that, which is one of the things the Senior Action Network's been phenomenal. They've taught me, we have so many people in the industry, in the group, they've taught me so much about it that helps me with my clients too.
Yeah, well, great, thank you. Okay, Lauren, so we heard a little bit about long-term care planning, but Lauren, tell me what types of matters individuals and families should think about when they're thinking about their estate and long-term care.
Sure. I really think the best way to answer that question is to sort of look at an example of a typical couple coming to my office. Normally we have a married couple where one person is in need of some long-term care, and then we have a healthy individual, the spouse, who we call the community spouse, the person who's not yet in need of care. And so you can imagine the types of things that are worrisome to this couple. How can we be sure that the person who needs care is getting the highest level quality of care, while balancing preserving the financial assets for the spouse to make sure that they will have assets available to them to cover any needs they may have? If we're talking about a healthy person, we could have any number of years still in the home, maybe continuing to work, so really how to balance those things. So we begin to think a lot about, if we need to find family decision makers, who should those people be? People who have similar values, similar beliefs about health care, similar values about financial management. Sometimes that's children, sometimes that's not. Who are the right people to be making decisions in the event that one or both of the spouses are unable to make them? So in addition to sort of who the players should be, what should the players be doing? How should they be making decisions? What kind of conversations should you be having with your family about what wishes you would want for healthcare decisions specifically, how you want your finances managed? And then the final piece is management of assets at death in the context of a special needs trust, or how do you preserve the financial sort of stability of the whole couple and the family as a whole while continuing to value the healthy spouse and still meet the needs of the ill spouse. So those are some of the things, the values around money, family matters, that I think people need to begin to think about how they manage those things as long-term care needs increase.
Okay, so what kind of documents should an individual or family be thinking about?
Yeah, I think absolutely the most important estate planning document individuals can have are powers of attorney, durable powers of attorney specifically. And the word durable is often confusing or intimidating to people, but all it means is it will last through the person's incapacity. And in that document, you give someone else the ability to make financial and medical decisions for you in the event that you're unable to act. And the reason it is the most critical document is typically the law has safeguards to protect you when you haven't done the planning you need to do. But with powers of attorney, that's just simply not the case. Certainly the law has protections for healthcare decisions. There's a hierarchy of decision makers in place, but that is not true with financial decisions. And so what you'll have are these couples who've been managing money together for their entire life, and all of a sudden one person can no longer make financial decisions, and the healthy spouse can't even close a bank account that they've been on for years. So without that financial power of attorney, they're really sort of, their hands are tied and they have to look to a guardianship, which is an incredibly expensive process. So that, I think, is the most important document. Then I think that's followed by wills to make sure that people's desires about where their money goes are validated and put in writing to be sure that those wishes are carried out. And one of the options in the wills that I think is not very well known is something called a special needs trust. And what that is that's a testamentary trust, so a trust created in a last will and testament that you can provide for an individual who is receiving assistance in whatever way they are, whether it's your spouse receiving long-term care assistance, a child on disability, whatever it is, you can fund money into that trust in your will so that that person's assets are preserved, but your assets are available for any needs they might have. And then, of course, a healthcare directive or a living will, where you have an individual can make decisions about what you would want in a terminal, if you were in a terminal condition and death were imminent. So those are really the most important documents. And the final sort of thing to consider is whether there's something called an agreement as to status of property in place or a community property agreement, and whether that would meet your needs at that time. And that document typically says something along the lines of, between a married couple, what we have is community, and when I pass away, it's going to go to the survivor. And that doesn't always meet people's needs. So to sort of reassess whether that document should be in place or not. Those are the most important documents.
Okay. So what would a couple expect to pay in terms of if they decided, oh, it sounds like we need some of these documents. We don't have them. We're kind of getting up there. One of us may need a little more care, and we really need to look at this. So what would a consultation where you explain all these documents and stuff, what would that be?
I can't speak for all attorneys in town.
Sure.
Some people choose flat fee methods for paying. Our office bills by the hour, which I believe is the fairest way to bill. Because if you have a really simple estate plan or long-term care plan, then why should you be paying a bulk fee for something that could be done much less expensive? So in our office, we don't provide consultations because our work really begins at that first appointment. We review financial status, we review family status, and we start giving you information immediately. So that range is really all over the board, depending on what the attorney bills per hour. So the question specifically for people would be just that. How do you bill? Do you bill by a flat fee or do you bill by the hour? What is the hourly rate? What is included as part of that hourly rate? And it's a hard question to answer without the attorney knowing the details, but normally they can give estimates.
Okay, that's good advice. So, and what about long-term care insurance? Do you find people coming to you that have it? Do most not have it?
Both, really. It's all over the board. Typically where I see individuals who have long-term care insurance is earlier in their planning stages. Looking at a couple who's facing retirement and thinking about what kinds of things can they do early on to plan for their long-term care. And that's where I really see sort of a new, renewed interest in long-term care insurance if they don't already have it. And if not, that can be part of the recommendation. Now, we certainly don't sell long-term care insurance, and to be honest, I don't know the ins and outs of it at all. But I can identify for clients whether that's an important piece of their personal picture and refer them to someone who knows a little bit more about it and can help them identify what would best meet their needs.
Okay. And then how about you, Bruce, as somebody comes in thinking they need long-term care insurance, or maybe their lawyer said they should look into it, how do you then go about evaluating with them what they might need or not need?
Well, people who are buying long-term care insurance, the general person is somebody that has, let's say, $500,000 in the bank and more, because they want to protect their assets, they want to protect their money, and they can afford to purchase the insurance in the first place. Somebody with $50,000, I would probably never recommend long-term care insurance because it's, they're in a kind of a stage that Medicaid or whatever is going to be there maybe for them. So when it comes to the insurance, then in our state we have probably 25 companies selling long-term care insurance. Out of those, they all have 2 or 3 policies. So we probably have 75 policies available in our state. And every policy is different. So I remember a person a long time ago saying, well, they're all the same. They are so different. I mean, because in nursing homes, assisted living, the biggest difference in long-term care insurance is care in your house. Who do you want to care for you in your home? Do you want your husband to care for you? There are policies that would actually pay your spouse to be your caregiver if you wanted it to. Most of them pay for licensed agencies to come in. But there's so many varieties of in-home care, and one of the bigger ones I ran into recently was We have 100 adult family homes in Thurston County. And with all the adult family homes, a lot of the policies will not pay for those. So you have to know, I have to be with a client, sit down and say, you have to understand the importance of adult family homes, what they are in the future compared to nursing homes. And if you're going to buy a policy, let's make sure that adult family homes are included, so they will pay if you want to go there. And the old policies from 15 years ago, all we had was a nursing home, basically.
Right. No assisted livings, no.
Not what we have today.
Yeah.
In 20 years, it's going to be so different. So it's making sure the policies fit people that's going to be not only today, but in 20 years, hopefully, the one I have on myself will be good for me in 20 years and still covers all the bases. So it's really amazing the difference that companies come out with. And they change consistently. As far as like Genworth will come out with a new policy every 3 years, you know, and all the insurance companies do. They always are upgrading to something new.
Right. Now I know, Bruce, you do an education forum just for people to come in and learn about long-term care insurance. How would somebody find out about your educational forums?
They can call Cindy here at the office anytime, 943-9698. And I do a class normally once a month, free for the public, and I walk them through. It's a 2-hour course.
Yeah.
And it's not just insurance, it walks them through this whole industry of what is everything out there and who is Lauren and why do you seek legal advice and that. I don't get into legal planning, definitely, but you definitely need to have an elder law attorney working on your side to get everything put together. It's not just one thing is the right answer. There's a lot of ways to work with it.
Right.
But the course is fun. I love teaching it.
All right. Well, we've just scratched the surface here really about what people need to think about when they're facing long-term care, when they're getting into their 50s and early 60s, what they really need to be looking for. So if they have more questions, you said your phone number, Bruce. How about, Lauren, how can somebody get a hold of you at your office?
So my office phone number is 754-1976, and certainly can call and speak with any of the attorneys in the office who work at estate planning and elder law. We'd be happy to help.
Okay. Well, it's a lot of information in a short period of time, but this is really just the top of the iceberg in terms of what the Senior Action Network has to offer to the community. We have a lot of wonderful folks that are expert in their fields, just as Lauren, you are, and Bruce, you are in your fields. So I'm hoping that this forum from TCTV and our South Sound Seniors program can become a way of getting that important information out to people in the community. You know, I do talk to seniors all the time, and it still amazes me when people go, "Oh, I didn't know about that." Oh, so if this show can become a forum to get people educated about the services and the service providers in the community, yay, team, that's what it's all about.
Well, one thing is there's a lot of the misconceptions that people pass rumors of how it works, but the other one is that the state, they upgrade we get updates every 3 months of the new changes, and it changes so consistently that people have to realize this whole system is not the same as it was 3 years ago.
And that's why we need people who are on the cutting edge of those changes that are happening in legislation.